inappropriate to outrage. And we're gonna keep it moving.
One, if you can tell, this is Belle with Pop Culture Uncovered. We're going to talk about Superman 2025, directed by James Gunn, starring David Cornsweet, Rachel Brosnahan, and Nicholas Hoult. Oh my gosh. Okay.
So Superman 2025. Basically, Superman, you love him. You know him, you love him. He's doing his thing, which is trying to ensure that everybody can live their happy lives. But you got these villains who are like, girl, you minded my business instead of your own. And let's be real, it's not just like my mental business, it's like my money business. So let's fix that. Superman does have like these ways to like self-soothe and like relax from certain things. And these ways are kind of sort of exposed to a point where it can even be seen as negative. Possibly. Depends on what you feel. How he self-soothes, how he relaxes, then gets out to the people, to the mass public, and they're like, oh, ow. So this is the type of time we on. I'm sorry, I'm just so sassy and black. I can't help it, but sometimes I can. But essentially, yeah, they're like, so this is what time we're on. All right. Tomato, nothing but tomatoes for you, jerk. And so this gets Superman into some trouble. He, being the noble person, gross, decides he wants to do the right thing and turn himself in. He gets locked up. Guess what? You'll never guess what's involved in this lockup. Kryptonite.
Shot.
Gasp. Egad. Kryptonite is somehow involved. He then escapes said kryptonite, or it's removed. Either way, it's not a factor anymore. And he then goes from where he is to beating up the villain, and then boom, get another movie.
David Cornsweet specifically, because he does have a lot to live up to. Henry Cavill was not a perfect Superman, but he was beloved as Superman and as Clark Kent. And obviously Christopher Reeves was the standard bearer, because he was one of the few who seemed to understand, much like Michael Keaton with Batman, how to make Superman and Clark Kent two completely different people, and how that's really important to the character. So how is David Cornsweet hold up?
In my opinion, yeah, he does keep Clark Kent and Superman separate.
Okay.
But there are moments that are scripted for a reason where those lines do kind of sort of blur.
Okay.
But it's, for the plot.
Okay, I like that. Because as somebody who obviously has read Superman, I have All-Star Superman, one of my favorite books. And I will say this, as someone who has read Superman on and off my entire life since the moment I could read, The character can be poorly written when he's right. When people understand that being a Boy Scout does not necessarily mean being a doormat, and understand that about the character, then he's well written. But too many people don't get that. And so they either write him as a doormat or as a Pollyanna. And so my concern with this film is that dichotomy and Lex Luthor. The one character that seems to have been gotten right across every version of the character in Medium is Lois Lane. Whether it's on Smallville, whether it's in the most recent Superman movies, whether it's in Batman the Animated Series and Superman the Animated Series, the only character that people seem to understand how to write is Lois. So going into these films, I'm always scared about how Lex and Clark are going to be portrayed, because their relationship is so weirdly intimate. Like, they literally have a child together in the comics. I don't know if you knew that, but because I don't know how much you've read of the original of the comics, but they literally have Superboy in the comics is their son. It's a long story. We do not have time, but suffice to say, he is 100% the biological child of Lex Luthor and Clark Kent, and there's no woman involved. And so because of that, and because of the fact that they, in the comics have had to be forced to basically learn how to co-parent, I'm always scared about how they're going to be portrayed on film because of that. And also because more often than not, Lex is either so much younger than Clark or so much older than Clark, and they should be around the same age. And so the only place that's ever gotten that right was Smallville. And this is going back to the original canon, like the 1930s canon. They are the same age, or not close enough for government work. So I like that Corn Sweat seems to have, from what you're saying, has understood how to make Clark and Supes two separate people. While when the line is blurred, it's blurred for a reason. My next question is, Lex. Is he a raving lunatic, or do you understand why he thinks the way he did?
This could need to be edited out. I'm not sure, because I'm not really super, what's the word? I don't know Superman as deeply as a lot of people do.
Right.
I know bare bones.
Right.
I didn't even know that they were supposed to be the same age, by the way, in the movie. To me, they do seem like close to the same age.
Good. That's good.
Lex, is he either a lunatic or what was the other one? Or do I see the reasoning behind what he does?
Yes. Do you see the reasoning? Because the thing about Lex, for me, when he's written well, is Lex Luthor is what Bruce Wayne would have been had Bruce Wayne not had Alfred. Same level of genius, but if he didn't have an Alfred to temper him, or if Alfred was a abusive piece of shit, then you get Lex. So, again, should I be scared?
To me, in the movie, as somebody very with limited information about Lex, he seemed like a jealous businessman. Like, you can definitely see the whole, I'm a businessman, I really just want to make this motherfucking money, get out my face. But you can also see the whole, I'm jealous of this bitch. I wish I had what he has, so that I can get more money.
Okay, that's disappointing, because
I could also be wrong.
No, I mean, because if that is your impression of somebody who's not familiar with canon, that's a much more honest interpretation, in my opinion. Um, because again, there is a bit of jealousy there. You can't write Lex without there being jealousy with the character, but it's less about Superman's power and more about the fact that he feels it's unearned, if that makes sense. He feels that, he has been doing his best in his weird way to try to make the world a better place. And here comes Superman. And everybody's just, bowing and scraping and this, that, and the other. And he's like, who is this bitch? And so I can see, again, when the character is well written. And also, when the character is well written, it's very much about what happens if Superman loses control. Then what do we do? He's the most powerful person on the planet, and we got nothing. We got squat to counteract him. And that fear drives a lot of Lex's decisions that are not great. And that's not excusing Lex, because Lex is psychotic. But you understand, and we're going to do a rewatch, I guess, of Sinners soon. But one of the things that struck me about Sinners, and then I started going back through all of Ryan Coogler's previous films that weren't Fruitvale Station. He is very good about writing villains where you understand why they are the way they are. Every single villain in his films, you're like, yeah, I get you. I get it. I 100% understand why you are coming from that point. You're still wrong. You're still crazy. But I get it. And so, to me, it's poor writing to make Lex that one-dimensional. So that's problematic. Do we at least have a good Lois? Or is Rachel Brosnahan breaking the streak? Because we've always had good Loises. Is she at least a great Lois? I can't imagine she wouldn't be, because she's such a great actress, but you saw it. I didn't. Thoughts?
Look, I don't know what a good Lois Lane looks like or a bad one.
So, I guess for me, is she a reporter first or is she a love interest first?
Oh, she's definitely a reporter.
That's a good Lois Lane.
Okay.
When Lois is a reporter first and Superman's love interest secondary, that's the best Lois Lane for me. She because Lois, when people write her as ancillary to Superman, no, Lois was a fully grown woman who had multiple awards and was a military brat who saw some shit. So she should not be just Superman's girlfriend or Clark Kent's love interest. She should be a reporter first and foremost. So if that's what she is in this film, then that's already good. That's already good. Before we move on to the costuming effects, we have Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. We have, let's see, Isabel Mercado as Hawk Girl. We have, hold on, what is this young man's name? Edie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific. Anthony Carrigan, I do not know who he is playing, but I always like him. He's always great and everything. How are their performances in this film? What are your thoughts?
Nathan Fillion is comedic relief, and I like it.
Okay.
Isabel Mercado. I can relate to her.
Okay.
She does something that's very relatable to me, and I'm like, fucking finally. Thank God somebody did it.
Okay.
You said Anthony Carrigan?
Yes. Always fun. He's always fun and everything.
He's so adorable. I just want to
I,
give him a hug and just swaddle him in a blanket because of the emotional distress that they put this man through.
well, he's playing
Ah!
Metamorpho, so yeah, that would do it. Yeah, yeah. Um, I Yeah, he's such a great actor. I almost wish he had been cast as Lex. I understand why they cast Nick Holt because Nick Holt is a bigger name and also he's an amazing actor. But Anthony would have been a great Lex. Um, well, maybe if they'd actually given him nuance, which I'm from what you're saying they did not, and that is a concern for me. Um, Same with Guy Gardner because Guy Gardner is funny, but Guy is also a social worker. And I feel like that part of his character was not even remotely touched on in the movie based off of what you said. Like, did you even know that? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. These are my, as somebody who knows the canon, these are the things that I'm always looking for. If you're going to bring in Guy Gardner, who is one of the more rough and tumble of the Green Lanterns, um he's not he is funny and he is not subtle at all, but one of the reasons Guy Gardner makes a good Green Lantern is because he's a social worker and he works with underserved communities and he works in with kids who are in genuine danger in his day-to-day life, so he can be on their level. That's his job. Because he came from a rough life, so he understands them, and that's why he dedicated himself to doing that. And so Guy Gardner, much like Deadpool, is one of those characters where if he's only funny, that's not who the character is. So that's a concern for me. um but let's get into costuming.
Oh wait, we forgot one person.
Who did we forget?
Um, Eddie,
Mr.
Mr.
Terrific.
Joe.
Yes,
Yes,
talk to me about Mr. Terrific.
I feel
Yes.
like the very ending is technically a read. Um, I like him. Long story short, I like him. Um, I'm definitely gonna go into more detail about him, but I like him.
That's good. Mr. Terrific is one of the better characters in comics, and he is such a well-written character. His power set and his common sense
Hmm.
are much needed in the DC universe. Although it seems like all of the black characters in the DC universe have more common sense in the comics and in the films than the people around them, like John Stewart, Green Lantern, and Vixen, and it's a long list. Rocket
Wait,
Icon.
black people have common sense? Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So, costuming and effects. What did you think of the costuming? What did you think of the special effects? I know people were dogging a few of the effects before the movie actually came out. So how did it actually look compared to what the preview of it looked?
I honestly didn't even watch a preview because I was so uninterested in the previews. Um, I thought the costumes looked fine. They weren't like old school Superman, but they also weren't the whole new school where everything is dark and everything's dark. And you need to turn off all the lights to see it, and you can still barely see it.
I actually appreciate that because that was getting very old, even in characters who shouldn't have that darkness, like Superman, like Wonder Woman, because the whole point is that they are contrast. The reason the Trinity works is because Diana and Kal-El help remind Bruce is of the three, Bruce is the least human, which is hilarious considering, of the three, not because he's not human, but because he's so traumatized that he in some ways has cut off his emotions. And so you have Diana, who is the physical embodiment of love, agape love, and every version of love, and you have Kal-El, who's the physical embodiment of hope, and you have Bruce, who is justice. But if justice is not given out with love and hope, then it's just cruelty, and that's the point of the Trinity. So I do like that we are remembering that in this iteration of the characters, and down to the costuming, because, you know, if you don't understand who these characters are, and I'm not knocking Zack Snyder, I was one of the few people who truly enjoyed Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I enjoyed Man of Steel. But I'm also one of those people who've actually been reading the comics and whose parents read the comics. And so the things that people were complaining about in Man of Steel, and I'm like, Superman's killed people before. It's been extreme circumstances, but it happened. So, but I also do need a break. You can't have just unrelenting darkness. You have to have hope. And if you don't go into these things with that, then it becomes an issue. So I'm glad that the costuming also reflects that, and that the special effects, whatever tweaks needed to be done, were done. So, final thoughts. What is your overall review? How did this movie make you feel when you were coming out of it? Uh-oh.
I still am very worried that a lot of people are going to be mad at me. But at the same time, I understand that if you listen to everything that I got to say, take that into consideration before you make a judgment. Which, you know, judge if you want. That's your business, not mine. With me having extremely limited knowledge on Superman and everything that goes into him, this movie was pretty fucking predictable, and it pissed me off. Like, yeah, people are gonna like Superman at first, and then something's gonna happen. He's gonna get captured, kryptonite, but then somehow he comes back and beats the people, and then he's loved again. Oh my goodness, yay! It's predictable. It is so fucking predictable. And it's so annoying how predictable it is. One of the reasons why I want to bring up Mr. Terrific is because I know nothing about this man. I got my first introduction to this man in this movie. And I wish it were more about him than it is about Superman. It bothers me so fucking much that you will have 50 movies, shows, spin-offs, Lego sets for Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Fantastic, well, mainly those three. But then you'll also introduce a couple other people like Fantastic Four, the Joker, maybe Bane. And then it's the same thing year after year after year after year after year. Look at that! I'm not sure if you can see this. Hang tight. Let me blur my gosh darn background. Look at this. How many freaking encyclopedias are there?
A lot. I have like 4 of them.
There are so many volumes to this encyclopedia full of DC people, but you keep regurgitating the same 10 people. Stop! 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 I'm so fucking tired of seeing Superman and then Batman and then every 2 years, maybe even a Wonder Woman. Girl, this book is not full of just Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. There are so many people. And the fact that you keep going after the same people is showing me that, oh God, trigger warning. I guess, whatever. I don't freaking know. That this is Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman are easy cash grabs, and you're fucking lazy, and I'm fucking tired of it. Like, I completely forgot your name, sir, Mr. Director, man. James Gunn.
That is correct.
Cool, James Gunn. It was your dream to direct another Superman movie, but another one, another one, another one. You're so fucking boring, bro. And the reason why I say that this is going to be controversial is because a lot of people are especially upset nowadays about everything being woke. And it's like, the fact that that enough people are hating on Superman because you see it as woke, when let's be real, when all you're super upset about is somebody who doesn't look like you, doesn't come from the same resources as you, being loved and wanting to have a happy, comfortable life. You want to boycott this movie because you're reminded that there are people who are different from you? That's boring. That's stupid. You need some help. Like,
Yeah. I
get
mean,
over yourself.
I genuinely was going to wait for this film to come out on Max, or if I saw it, I would see it after after the frenzy rode down. But because the racists are out in force already, movie ain't even come out yet, are out in force, I'm like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to go see it just to support it.
Or just buy a ticket.
And yeah, but that's the thing. And you have legitimate critiques of the movie and of the fact that we are rehashing this character again for the millionth time. I literally own Smallville and Superman the Animated Series. You could probably see them on one of my shelves back here. I own those. Yeah, I got a lot of stuff happening. It's a lot.
Wasn't there, you guys?
I have All-Star Superman. Obviously, I have Greatest Stories Ever Told. I have All-Star Superman, both the film and the book. I have a lot of Superman stuff. And so valid critiques are needed because that's how you have characters grow and change and become better characters. That's not what these people are doing. They are attacking the character because the character is quote unquote woke, as if Superman wasn't always quite literally an illegal alien. He's from a different planet. Was it brought here through the right way? He wasn't brought here. He wasn't adopted the right way. He was literally snuck in and they were like, we got a baby now. And called it a day. So the fact that people are so upset about it is pissing me off. Because I don't want to see a movie just to support it because assholes are out there. I want to see it because it's good. I guess what I will say is, on a scale of 1 crypto to 5, would you see it again if you weren't being paid to see it? If you weren't reviewing it?
Two, only because Mr. Terrific is actually terrific and I want to see him again.
Okay.
Seriously, make a show with him, people. Make a movie with him. He has a goddamn story.
Yeah. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Well, that's disappointing, but I'm not surprised. I think that, from what I understand, you know, the people who are fanboying and fangirling about it are going to go, and that's fine. I will probably see it because, again, I want to support, just because the racists and the psychos are out there and en masse review bombing it. Same thing they did to Ironheart, and Ironheart was amazing. What they tried to do with Sinners, but that did not work. But
it didn't make its money back within the first weekend before the first release. Oh.
Meanwhile, it's the #1 horror movie in history. But that's a whole conversation. A Superman who seems to have more nuance. Again, I really enjoyed Henry Cavill. I just don't think that they made a point of really distinguishing Clark Kent from Superman. And that's kind of really important, the same way it is with Bruce and Batman. And if you don't make that very clear, then what's the point of him having children who bring out the Bruce Wayne and less of the Batman? But that's a whole other conversation. I was hoping for better. I'm probably going to see it on my own, but I'm glad, again, your critiques are valid critiques, and I'm really glad that you had them, because you're right. It does seem like a cash grab, and I keep thinking about how the MCU started. People always act as if Tony and Steve and Thor were top tier characters in Marvel when the MCU started, and that is not the case. None of those characters, not Black Widow, not Hawkeye, not Steve, not Captain America, not Thor, not Iron Man, they were C-list. The top tier characters in the Marvel comics were the X-Men and the X-Men. So because they didn't own it, they had to start from scratch. And I really think and the Spider-Man and the X-Men were the basic ones that everybody knew. And so they had to go and dig deep into their files. And this is something that's come up repeatedly on podcasts, on the main podcast that Armand, Pete, and I do, which is, to what you said, DC has a bench that's so deep of so many well-written, well thought out characters of so many different origins, of so many different backgrounds. It's time to use them. Now, if this movie makes enough money that we finally get an entranceway into those characters, then it'll be worth it to me. If we get more, this movie opens the door because it makes enough money to be viable for us to get more of those characters, then great. Praise God and pass the ammo. If not, I will be disappointed. But we got Mr. Terrific, and maybe we'll get a Mr. Terrific TV show.
I'll take it.
Hi, Puppy.
I'll take a quick season. Well, I mean, not saying a quick season, because a quick season is like 10 episodes. I will take a season or two of some of these other villains and heroes.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Let Superman and Batman make a little quick guest appearance, like, hey guys, bye.
Bye. Bye. And there's so many reasons to have them off-world that other heroes would have to step up because they're off-world. But that would mean, again, having more talent and actually writing the characters. Anyway, on that note, this is Belle with Pop Culture Uncovered. Thank you so much, Jordan, for giving your actual honest opinion and not a fanboy, fangirl based opinion and not a hate based opinion, but an actual honest review of Superman 2025. You can follow us at PC Uncovered on Instagram and Threads and Tumblr, Pop Culture Uncovered on Tumblr, Facebook, and popcultureuncovered.com. And you can also support us on Patreon, where I will be putting up our uncut reactions, specifically Jordan's face as she and I suffered through Twilight. And yeah, it was a lot, girl. It was a lot. And I can't believe I agree with Ivana to do the other ones because I'm mad at myself for being tricked by her cute face. But We will see you guys on the next one. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And go watch Superman and make up your own mind. But this is our opinion.
Yeah.
Peace.
Ah.
Bye. Bye, everyone.